Hey everyone, Big Pauly back for another video. We're counting down my 10 favourite films of 2017. So 10, straight down to 1. Was a couple of films that were outside of my top 10 that couldn't get quite in, if you know what I mean. One of those I'm just going to tell you now is Blade Runner 2049. Now, even though that was a brilliant film, there were so many good releases in 2017 that just I couldn't put outside of them. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, when the list was made up, it kind of edged it and pushed it off the bottom. And for some reason, Blade Runner didn't do that well, money-wise. I think they even considered it a flop. I think that's for the reason being, I think on that, is that it's such an intelligent, thought-provoking movie. I don't know how I understood it. But I think a lot of audiences just want to go into the cinema and watch something like a lot of Michael Bay crap, you know, Transformers, and just leave your brain at the door. So I think that's what reflected a lot of people going to see it, because they had to go into the cinema and think. So I think that's why it bombed as it did. But story-wise and epically created, it didn't bomb. Just box office. So anyway, I'm waffling. We're going to get into my top 10 now. Let's do it. Right, first up on the list is number 10. And it is It. Or if you're in the computer industry, IT. It was a really good film for me. It wasn't too scary, because I don't really like the jump in your face type of movies. It doesn't do anything for me. But I loved it for the nostalgia feel. You know, the 80s kids, kind of like Stand By Me, Goonies and Stranger Things. That's why I like it so much. I like it so much. And I love Pennywise as well. He did a really... What's his name? Skarsgård. Yeah, I can't remember his first name. It's one of the Skarsgård brothers. It's getting as bad as the Baldwins. Because his dad's from Pirates of the Caribbean as well, isn't he? And his other brother was from True Blood. Oh, God, it's getting confusing now. I love the bit from the beginning as well, with the kid chasing after his little boat, and that was a bit of a shock at the beginning as well. I think once you see what happens after he tries to retrieve that boat from the drain, I think that kind of sets up what you're expecting. But the whole thing, the whole look of it, the sewers, the old house as well, that the kids went to. So very structured, very well put together film. Definitely better than the 90s miniseries that had Tim Curry. Now, I do remember that, but yeah, this is way better than that. So that's my number 10, It. Number 9! Number 9 on my list is Kingsman: The Golden Circle. Now, I loved the first Kingsman movie. Absolute classic, especially when they're sitting around the tables and all their heads explode and all that kind of stuff. And I thought, hey, can they top this? But for me personally, I happen to think that the Golden Circle was better than the original. What with the cast edition, Channing Tatum, although he didn't have a very big role, I would have preferred him to have a much meatier role in the second film, because we did see quite a bit of him in the trailer. So I don't know, maybe they're holding him back for the third film. And also Julianne Moore, she made a really good comical Bond villain. She was absolutely fantastic. And the scenes with that, if anybody hasn't seen it, that megastar, that pop icon, was absolutely hilarious. And I almost fell off my chair. I pissed myself so much with some of those scenes. They were so funny. So I really enjoyed it. Action all the way through. Fantastic action. Even the beginning of the film, like the first 5 or 10 minutes, it kind of felt like a Bond film. It felt like that opening scene in a Bond film. So I was really happy. Even bringing back one of the characters that supposedly had died in the first film was kind of an interesting spin. So I really enjoyed Kingsman: The Golden Circle. I'm definitely going to be getting that on maybe 4K. Now I can. Because that'll pop there in lovely colours in there and all the snow scenes and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's my number 9.
Number 8.
Number 8 on my list is Baby Driver. Now this is going to be way up there on a lot of people's lists, maybe towards the top end of the top 10. But as I say, there's a lot more films that I really enjoyed more than Baby Driver, and that's why it's pushed down to number 8. But really enjoyed it, really enjoyed the soundtrack. The soundtrack was kicking, absolutely brilliant, and I love the way that they set up the gunshots and things to the beat of the rhythm and that kind of stuff. I'm getting into it now. But yeah, really enjoyed that. I love the love story element as well with the girl from the diner, the waitress. So that was really good. For me, I know there's a lot of crap about Kevin Spacey, but we're not talking about Kevin Spacey the actor here, we're talking about the character. His character was really good, but for me I think it's Jon Hamm. Jon Hamm really shone in this film from Mad Men, and he not so much Jamie Foxx, but yeah, Jon Hamm. I really loved his character. He was a bastard in it, and he was a kick-ass bastard. So I really enjoyed Baby Driver. Soundtrack, I was thinking about actually buying the soundtrack. Actually, I mean, I wouldn't say entirely it's my type of music, but it's one hell of a soundtrack. So anyway, that's my number 8, Baby Driver.
Number 7.
My number 7 is Logan, which also may be up there with a lot of people's tops. And for me, this was a definitive X-Men movie. This was an X-Men movie without all the X. Without all the thrills and it had thrills in it, but you know what I mean, without all the sciencey fantasy, all kind of stuff. It was a down-to-earth X-Men movie, and I love the whole look of it with the desert and the out in the middle of nowhere with the hangar and Professor X. And it's kind of like a doomed film, isn't it? It's kind of a doomed X-Men movie because you get into the end. Even Logan himself knows that he's coming to his end, and I think he wants to go out in his last blaze of glory. And the addition of Laura, the X-23, I think she did a fantastic job. The actress Daphne, is it? I think her name is. I can't remember her last name, but she did an absolutely brilliant job. And I watched her audition, and she just floored it. I mean, I think the rest of the crew or the cast were like, okay, well, she's leading here, but she did an absolutely fantastic job, and I couldn't have seen anybody else playing that role. So it will be really interesting to see where they're taking this, and if they do an X-23 movie, because she could carry an entire movie. So yeah, that's Logan. That's my number 7.
Number 6.
Number 6, John Wick 2. Another action-packed, kick-ass movie. Absolutely loved it. I love the spin that they did on this film at the end when he got kicked out, and basically everybody was out for him, all the other agents. And it kind of showed you at the end exactly how big this whole thing is, where you thought in the first film it was just one bloke that went around doing his jobs, but now it's all over the world and there's all these different... it's just so good, and that's why John Wick 3 is going to be so bloody good. And I'm also looking forward to the John Wick TV series as well, based around the hotel where he stays. So that's going to be good. And John Wick 2 had a fantastic opening with that car chase right from the start. That's the kind of film that sort of drags me in and keeps me watching. And when it came to the scenes down in the tunnels, my God, we saw that at the cinema. That was epic. I can't remember how many headshots there were, but that was just absolutely fantastic. And that really gives my sound system in the back bedroom a run for its bloody money, because that is one brilliant action movie. So that's John Wick. That is my number 6.
Number 5.
Number 5, it's time for some Marvel. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Loved Volume 2. Probably a little bit more than Volume 1. Absolutely, yeah. Because of the inclusion of Kurt Russell, which at the beginning floored me when they did that Peter Cushing effect, Carrie Fisher, you know, the de-aging, CGI de-aging, just floored me because it was him. It was him from the 80s, so that was fantastic. So yeah, for me, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 was really enjoyable. A real enjoyable action-adventure film. And when they showed those other groups with Michelle Yeoh and Sylvester Stallone, you kind of feel like you can actually have separate films. You know, like Guardians spin-offs. So hopefully they'll feature them again more in maybe in the third film, because that would be really interesting. Or maybe have a separate Guardians movie spin-off, you know, like they did with Rogue One for Star Wars. So that'd be really good. But love the ending of that. Teared me up right at the end. Great action scenes. Very emotional as well. Especially with Michael Rooker's character. As he was flying up towards the end, saving Peter. That whole scene at the end with the fireworks, and when Cat Stevens' song, was it Father and Son, started playing, I lost it. That was a very emotional ending for a film, and that's why I think Guardians tips the first one. It was such a well structured, put together movie, for me anyway, and I love Guardians of the Galaxy.
Number 4.
My number 4 on my list is Dunkirk. Another brilliant action film, told from 3 different perspectives. You know, on the beach, the Air Force with Tom Hardy in the Spitfires, and the boats, the small boats. So that was really well put together. I loved the pacing of the movie as well. It wasn't a kick-ass in your face type thing, you know, like Saving Private Ryan, but it was a very well structured movie. A lot of people didn't like it. I've had some comments to say that people got bored in it, or they didn't like the way that it was edited, because there was and the way that there was no characterization of these characters. That was Christopher Nolan's intention, though, wasn't it? Because really you don't give a shit about any of these characters. That's the whole purpose, because it's actually about the event, actual Dunkirk, and getting these people off this beach. So I think that's why he focused on that, rather than, oh, let's learn all about Tom Hardy and if he's got any kids and where he grew up and all that kind of shit, and what he did before he joined the war. So that's why I really enjoyed that film, because it just got rid of all the character and just focused on the actual subject itself. So that is Dunkirk, my number 4.
Number 3.
My number 3 was one of my previous number 1s earlier in the year, and that's Wonder Woman. Yes, Wonder Woman for me was like, okay, DC has not been brilliant. They've not had the best time of their lives. They're kind of like Marvel's underlings, and we were plodding along with Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad, and then all of a sudden Wonder Woman came along and basically went like that to Marvel, and for a moment it fucking floored me, and I thought, how can DC come along with such an absolutely brilliant put together movie, action adventure? Fantastic it was. Still love it. Definitely one of definitely DC's top film. And I thought, what the hell, this is so good. And I thought, hang on a minute, Marvel, you're in trouble. You could be in trouble if this is the calibre that DC are now going to be putting out. Unfortunately, that all went down the toilet with Justice League, didn't it? But anyway, Wonder Woman, yeah, love the character. Gal Gadot, she did a fantastic job. Chris Pine, great casting, great action scenes. I love the World War One scenes on the battlefield, and I just can't wait for Wonder Woman 2, because I think they've actually found the one that works, which is Wonder Woman. Nothing else has really worked that well. Although I do like Suicide Squad, but it's still not up there with Wonder Woman. But they are lagging behind Marvel, so unfortunately. And Justice League was such a disappointment. So that's my number 3, Wonder Woman.
Number 2.
My number 2 is a Marvel. And it's Thor Ragnarok. And this, I had the most fun all year watching this movie. And a lot of people also said with Thor Ragnarok that, what the hell's going on with the humour? Because all of a sudden we had these 2 Thor movies, which were quite dark and, in a way, sometimes depressing. And then all of a sudden, it's like turned into a comedy. But I think that's what really worked with Thor Ragnarok, is that this is how the Thor films should have been from the start. And I reckon all of them, all would have been classics if they'd started it this style with this kind of humour, because it really worked. It really worked so well. And I had so much fun with this movie. The one-liners were perfect. Jeff Goldblum was perfect. Well, Jeff Goldblum's perfect in anything that he's usually in. The planets, the landscapes, the colouring, the cinematography, the spaceships. It's just absolutely fantastic. It's my type of Marvel action film. Very similar, as I say, to like Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one. And I think that's something that Marvel have now clocked onto, that maybe some of the previous Marvel films didn't have the right amount of humour. And it's twigged that, okay, what with Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor, the kind of humour that you get, and now they've injected that kind of humour into Spider-Man Homecoming as well. So I think they've come up with the right balance of action, seriousness, comedy and that kind of thing. So they've got it just right now. Even Cate Blanchett did a fantastic job in this movie. She played a proper good old villain, and a proper good old comic book villain. So I was really happy with her character. Okay, folks, so that's my number 10 down to my number 2. So that just leaves my number 1. My top movie of the year.
Number 1.
One word. Porg. Yes. Star Wars The Last Jedi. Now, this is a film that's divided audiences quite a bit. Some people absolutely hate it and despise it because it's ripped. They're saying that it's ripped George Lucas's original idea, ripped these characters away, shit on them, and spat them out. And even to an extent, it's taken some of the stuff that J.J. Abrams did in The Force Awakens and kind of like screwed it up and threw it in the bin. It is a different take. It's an adventurous take. And it was a gamble, but I think it paid off. It is going to be taking the Star Wars franchise in a different direction. Obviously, there were a couple of characters and scenes from The Force Awakens that we were expecting to be resolved or even progressed in The Last Jedi. And Rian Johnson, the director, just basically took them and said, piss off. I'm going this direction. Which is actually kind of refreshing. So yeah, that's why I enjoyed it so much, and I'm really looking forward to what they're going to do with episode 9. It was, the only thing I would say about The Last Jedi, it was just a little tad too long at 2.5 hours. So maybe he could have trimmed it back to about, I don't know, 2 hours 10, 2 hours 15. Maybe that would have been a little bit better. But it's still one of my favourite films of my favourite film of this year. I've seen it 3 times in the cinema now. No doubt I'll be buying the Blu-ray, the Steelbook, the Blue Fans, the big sleeve when it comes out. Oh, looking forward to what that big sleeve's going to look like. My God, that's going to have a cover on it. Maybe I'll have a Praetorian Guard on the cover. That'll be pretty good. A nice red gatefold. But yeah, so I enjoyed everything about The Last Jedi. Music is probably the thing that really dragged me into this one. It's one of John Williams' best scores for Star Wars. Had all the usual little recognisable themes in it as well. You know, like Princess Leia's theme. And it's going to be interesting what they're going to do now with Princess Leia, because for me personally, there were several scenes in The Last Jedi where they could have respectfully killed Princess Leia or let her die. And it would have been accepted. It would have been perfectly accepted by any fans out there. One scene when Kylo was going to blow the ship up, and instead the TIE fighters blew the ship and she got sucked out into space, and they showed that beautiful scene of her just floating in space. That could have been a good ending. They could have just left that there. It would have been a sad ending, but they could have left it there. The other one I think probably would have worked better, when they ran out of fuel and the escape pods, you know, the little shuttles were heading off down to Crate, and they were picking them off one by one, and Holdo, Laura Dern's character, you know, turned the ship around and went through lightspeed hyperspace right through the ship. I think Princess Leia should have decided to stay behind. She should have said, this is going to be my last stand for the rebellion. I'm going to go out guns blazing. I'm going to make my death mean something. So, and that would have been a fitting end. That would have been a fitting end for Princess Leia. So I'm surprised they didn't do any of that. And so far as we know now, I mean, she's alive at the end of episode 8. So how are they going to write her into out of episode 9? I don't know. Is she just going to be off somewhere out in the middle of the galaxy recruiting new Jedi, or I don't know. So it's going to be very tricky, but there was a lot of chances for them to actually write her out, respectfully write her out of the entire series. So we'll see what happens in 2019. Oh God, I've got so long to wait. So yes, but it's still my favourite film of the year, and I can't wait to see it again on Blu-ray in 3D. And the comedy as well. A lot of people didn't quite grasp the comedy of this one as well. With the things like Huck's scene at the beginning and things like that. And some people were saying unnecessary scenes as well. You know, like a shirtless Kylo Ren. Which, yeah, really didn't have any meaning for the film. So I don't know why they did that. But as an entirely good action film, a good space film, that's my number one. So Star Wars The Last Jedi, my number one movie of 2017. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little countdown. It's probably completely different from everybody else's countdowns, but that's a good thing. So, rather than putting your countdown, your entire top 10 list down in the comments, stick down like your favourite 3 films of the year, so I can see what everybody preferred. That'd be interesting. To see what kind of mix we have. So I hope you enjoyed this little video. Give it a thumbs up. I have decided on a new name for Porg 2. So we have Winnie here, and now we have Porg Sausage. And that's only because of the barbecue scene in The Last Jedi. So yeah, we've got Winnie and Porg Sausage. So I don't know how long they're going to be staying up there. Maybe they'll stay up there until the Blu-ray comes out. Who knows? Or maybe they'll go into hibernation for a little while. But anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you on the next video. Bye.